Well, better late than never, am I right? Yeah, you already saw the title. You know what we're doing. We're ranking every single Illumination movie. Let's just get into the ranking. So there is a lot of Illumination movies. In fact, there's so many, I had to actually get new images of numbers for this, because I only had up to 10. So this means, hopefully, we'll be moving at a quicker pace than usual. So what is the worst Illumination movie? Believe it or not, my number 13 and my number 12 are the only Illumination movies that I would consider bad. So I'm just going to cut to the chase. The worst Illumination movie, in my opinion, and it's actually not even that close, is The Secret Life of Pets 2. Wait, seriously, Drippy? The Secret Life of Pets 2? How could this be the worst Illumination movie of all time? So a sequel usually takes what the original did so well and basically builds upon that. Also, spoiler alert for later in the list, but the original Secret Life of Pets is pretty good, and it's actually pretty high up on the list. Yeah, Secret Life of Pets 2 is not that at all. It's just basically Max and Duke from the first movie are going on vacation. So we get to see Gidget befriend a bunch of cats, and Max also has a toddler on his hand. So yeah, this movie just blows, I'm gonna be real. Also, there's a super Snowball subplot, which sees that Snowball living with her new owner. Or maybe it's a he. What gender is Snowball? I honestly don't know. Anyway, this movie just kind of sucks compared to the original Secret Life of Pets. The original Secret Life of Pets is honestly a really good time. So then there was a sequel 3 years later. Was it good? No. I've went through the plot of this movie. It sounds interesting, but it couldn't be any more bland. And it's not that funny. It overall just feels like the plot is just wasted. It tries to be something unique, but in reality, it's anything but unique. This movie honestly just sucks. I don't even know why I'm talking about it anymore. You're here for the good stuff, and this movie is genuinely not good. And it's overall my least favourite Illumination movie, and it's not really that close. The Lorax! Yay! Happy! I feel like you know the story of this movie, but basically there's a guy who wants to impress this girl, and basically he goes into the forest is to find out about a tree, which is the thing that would impress her. And then he finds out about this guy called the Onceler, who found out that money isn't everything, and that you should just let nature be. This movie's just so bland. There's no substance in this movie. And believe it or not, it has more character development, world building, and more in this movie than more than half of the other Illumination movies. So why is this one lower? Well, at least with the other movies, they were entertaining. I didn't know how they were going to go. This movie is not that at all. You know how this movie is going to go, you know how its middle is going to go, and you know how it's going to end. You know how this movie is going to go before you even watch it. You don't even need to watch it. Story. You should know everything about the story. This movie is just so unbelievably bland. And when it comes to the Grinch movie, which we'll see a little later in the list, at least it changes something. I'm not saying that it's a good change, but yeah, it changed something. Like, there was an actual reason to watch it. Unlike this movie, like, come on. Like, this movie is just so unbelievably bland. And the Grinch, while yes, they didn't change much, they changed something. So yeah, this movie is definitely on the weaker side of Illumination. And honestly, it's on the weaker side of some of the Dr. Seuss films. Okay, now before I reveal my number 11 spot, just keep in mind that this is just my opinion, okay? You're allowed to disagree, yeah? That's just a part of being human. I know I probably should have said this a little bit earlier, but yeah, it's fine. Better late than never, am I right? That's what I always say. Yeah, this is just my opinion. If you disagree, that's fine. Make your own list. That's just one of the beautiful parts of being human. Yeah, this is just my opinion. So don't hire an assassin and try to murder. But with that being said, number 11 is Hop. Now, yes, a lot of people clown on Hop. And for good reason. It's Illumination's only live-action film. And it's I'm not gonna lie, even though I thought it was way more entertaining than tons of other people think it is, I gotta be real, it does have issues. It's gotta be, if I gotta be real, it still had issues, like, the acting's terrible, or the plot makes no sense, and it's overall quite a washed-up film. But it was just wildly entertaining. Yeah, I honestly enjoyed this film a lot more than The Lorax and The Secret Life of Pets 2. It was just, don't get me wrong, it's a terrible movie, yeah, but it was such an entertaining, terrible movie. I don't think you guys understand what I think a 1 out of 10 is. A 1 out of 10, in my opinion, is a movie that had absolutely no redeeming qualities and made me hate myself afterwards. As an example, Turning Red is a 1 out of 10, because I absolutely hated everything about this movie. And stuff like The Lorax is a 5 out of 10, because, it was boring, but at least it had something to offer. The Smurfs is also a 5 out of 10, because, while, yes, it's definitely a complete nothing fest of a movie, it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was quite entertaining, and so was this movie. I don't think you guys understand, this is not a 1 out of 10 in my books. It was just, I don't know, but I just really liked myself while watching this film. It was not a 1 out of 10 in my books. Hop, you're off the hook, but you're on thin ice. The next movie on this list is actually conveniently Illumination's most recent movie, Despicable Me 4. This movie just felt like a complete, it just felt like nothing. Now, I'll cut it some slack. This is the fourth Despicable Me movie. I guess they can't all be wins, but this is easily the worst out of all of them. Despicable Me 1, 2, and 3, all of them felt like they had something that makes them Despicable Me's, rather than Despicable Me 4, which I just didn't really feel for this movie, for the way I did for Despicable Me 1, 2, and 3. In Despicable Me 1, 2, and 3, we got to saw how Gru, went through as a character, and in Despicable Me 4, all we really got to see is Gru finally gets to see his son says he loves him. Like, that's what makes all of these movies so good. They always have some of these moments where we see Gru grows as a character from being a metistical villain that cares about no one and nothing to just to be a caring person who cares about everyone he loves. And Despicable Me 4 didn't really have a moment like this. And it just felt like an absolute nothing movie. It just felt like that they made this movie because they promised it and they needed a movie to release in 2024. Like, that's, like, they could have easily just shadow dropped this along with the Mario movie too, and I don't think anyone would have noticed. Kind of a similar thing to what they're doing with Minions 3 right now, but overall, yeah, Despicable Me 4 is overall my least favourite entry in the Despicable Me franchise, at least so far. Remember when I said The Grinch was later on the list? I kinda told the truth and I kinda lied. Because I did say that it was later on the list and, well, here we are, we're later on the list. However, we're only two places later on the list. Is that enough to be considered later on the list? I don't know. Anyway, so I feel like you guys all know the story. There's this guy who hates Christmas, and basically he decides to steal all of the presents, but then he feels bad, so he decides to give them back. However, the reason that this film is higher than Lorax, even though it's very predictable, is because I actually think it's the best Grinch film. Not that it really has much competition. There are only 2 other Grinch films, and I think that this one's the best. Purely because of one thing, the Grinch's reasons. In the live-action Grinch, the reason that he hates Christmas is because he got embarrassed, and it's because of Christmas. Meanwhile, in this movie, the reason that he hates Christmas is because he kept on being alone at this time of year, which is much more deep. And it might be one of the deepest Illumination has ever gotten. And trust me, I know that might not sound like a lot, but for this company, that is a milestone. Like that is a milestone for this company. Like, it overall just, like they should be given the key for the city for that. But anyway, is, yeah, you already know what it's like. But it's quite predictable, which is why I didn't put it any higher. However, it was overall the best Grinch movie, and it's not really that close in my books. I know it might be close in a lot of people's eyes, and in some people's eyes, it might not even be in competition, and they choose the live-action one because of nostalgia. But for me, this movie is just the best. But that's just me. Enjoy whatever one you pick. Choose wisely. Alright, that was fun. Back to Despicable Me. Minions is Minions. Like, I don't really know what else to say. Listen, is it goofy? Yes. Is it entertaining? Yes. But is it bad? Debatable. Like, I feel like tons of people were hating on this movie for years. And I feel like some are still hating on it till this day. But I feel like tons of people are starting to say, actually, it's not all that bad. And it's even gotten 2 sequels. Getting a trilogy only goes to some of the best movies in the career. Yeah, this is not that, clearly. Yeah, like, it's clearly not one of the best movies. He's, like, by any means necessary. Like, it's just a prequel to Despicable Me. That's all it really is. It's really just nothing more than just a prequel to Despicable Me. Yeah, isn't that neat? Yeah, it's not really anything more than that. It's really just a Despicable Me prequel. Yeah, and before you ask, the timeline for Despicable Me, it really isn't that complicated, but it goes Minions, then Rise of Group, and then I assume Despicable Me 1, 2, then Despicable Me 3, then Minions and Monsters, and then Despicable Me 4. At least I think that's the order. I don't know, I guess we'll check back Minions and Monsters releases. Anyway, so, yeah, this movie is, it's a movie. It really is just a movie that came out in 2015. It's a prequel to Despicable Me. That's really all it is. Also, this movie is over 10 years old. Man, I'm old. Anyway, yeah, you already know what this movie is about. It's about Jeff, Bob, and Kevin. And, oh wait, no, it's Stuart, Bob, and Kevin. And it's basically, they're trying to find someone who they can rule with, like who they can become evil with. So they eventually find Scarlet Overkill, who ultimately thinks that they're betraying her, and overall, all they decide to give the crown to her, and then yeah, that like you can write the entire script yourself here. Yeah, it really just doesn't matter now, but whatever. Yeah, like, this movie is just a movie. Also, man, I'm old. Anyway, moving on. We're back at where it started it all. Despicable Me is, like it's a classic. A supervillain who discovers love through parenting. Even on a rewatch, this film just felt so fresh. However, yeah, you guys already know where I'm going with this. Since it's the first film, it suffers from a lot of hardware limitations at the time, and overall, it just doesn't age well. However, it's still a very enjoyable time. And a fun fact, Illumination just for the Despicable Me was just going to be one of their films, just a little film. But no, it ended up being huge, which ushered in more films. It was just going to be the debut. It might die down, and then they would regret it, and they would move on. No, instead, it has ushered 5 more movies, and yes, that includes the Minion movies, and that is just insane. Aside from Snow White, I'm not sure of a single other movie that was as significant as this. Okay, well, aside from maybe Toy Story. But what are the other ones? Ants, Open Season. This film was just so significant in the landscape of shaping this movie company. If it wasn't for this, I wouldn't even be making this video right now. I'm dead serious. If it wasn't for this movie, I would have just not made this video, and I would just go to bed right now. Actually, that's not a bad... Anyway, yeah, so overall, this movie just... since it's the first movie, it suffers from a lot of hardware limitations. However, it's still not a bad time. Overall, a pretty good first movie. And also, I just really hope that it doesn't get milked into a humongous frat. Oh, wait. We're halfway through the ranking. So, you know what? Let's just do something for fun. I'm going to be telling you guys about my favourite Illumination short, Training Wheels. This short was released back in 2014 and was actually released in between Despicable Me 2 and Minions. Released as in released order-wise, not as in chronologically. Anyway, we're in Training Wheels. Basically, Agnes wants to try and get ice cream so bad. However, her bike sucks, so the minions help her get a new bike. So then an ice cream truck gets robbed. However, Agnes really wants her ice cream, so she goes after the truck and decides to blow it up with her newly built bike, to get her ice cream. And ice cream just ran out of the sky. And for some reason, I just feel like they went unbelievably hard with Training Wheels. Like, it was just so good. Like, I knew that I really liked this one as soon as I first watched it. It's been my favourite Illumination short, and I doubt I'll change my mind anytime soon. Anyway, back to what you came here for. If I had a nickel for every single musical that had talking animals as the main character, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's worth it to happen twice, right? And before you guys ask, yes, The Lion King is a musical. I had to search it up as well. Anyway, Sing is unique. Sing is about a koala who wants to create a talent show. However, he notices that no one wants to take part in his show. And he decides to put a talent show up. But then there was a small misfunction, which made it look like that the prize was $1 million, even though it was supposed to be $1,000. It was just the glass eye from the lizard. It fell onto the keyboard, and then bam! Now everyone wants to go to the talent show. So they held auditions. 2 of them weren't able to make it. They had a dance part at the end, because of course they did. And yeah, that's the end of the movie. I'm not gonna lie, this movie is pretty solid. It's definitely one of Illumination's better movies. There was just something about it that was just so unique, and made it's easily one of their more memorable films compared to something like The Secret Life of Pets 2 or Hop. It was just a very nice experience, and as a matter of fact, it's actually one of Illumination's only original films, which still hurts my soul now, but whatever, it is what it is, I guess. You gotta respect Illumination for liking movie theatres. Yeah, because of COVID, a lot of movie companies just sent their films to streaming services. However, Illumination decided to just not release a film in 2020 and then release Minions 2 Rise of Gru in 2022. Speaking of which, that's also the film that I'm talking about, so what am I waiting for? Minions 2 Rise of Gru takes place around 2 years after the original Minions. Basically, Gru is living in, I think it's Philadelphia. Maybe it's California. Nah, I don't really know. Anyway, so basically, he wants to join this evil group called the Vicious Six. However, he's told he can't join because he's just a puny little child. He also got to meet Dr. Nefario in this movie when he was young, which, I gotta admit, that was pretty cool. So I'd like to know what's not cool about this movie. The overglorification of minions. Now, don't get me wrong, the movie is literally called Minions Rise of Gru. But I feel like most of the eyes should be on Gru rather than the minions. Like, I feel like that seeing how Gru goes through as a character throughout all these movies is more enjoying than all of the things these minions do combined. With that being said, this movie is still very enjoyable, and I would actually recommend it. However, yeah, like, if you don't like the minions, I can't imagine how this movie would be for you. But I personally really enjoyed it. I personally really enjoyed Secret Life of Pets back when I watched it back in, 2017, I believe it is. And I was actually quite surprised when I found out about the amount of people who disliked this movie. Because I personally really enjoyed it. And thought that it was such a fresh movie by Illumination. It might not be their freshest movie, but it is still a very good time. And it's also, it was just really unique. Like, a lot of people just think that it's a bunch of funny pet videos on the internet that were then rolled into one huge humongous movie. But no, I think that it was way more enjoyable than just a bunch of funny pet videos on YouTube. Like, this one actually had a story, and the story was way better than... Anyway, this movie's honestly pretty good. Like, I don't understand why a lot of people dislike it, because I personally really enjoyed it, and definitely think it's one of Illumination's better films. Now, yes, I do got to admit that from sometimes the film can play it a bit safe. And when it plays it safe, it plays it safe. However, I feel like that it did get a very, conclusive and pretty cool finale. I should probably tell you guys about the plot. The plot is basically Max has now got a roommate called Duke, and Max did not like his new roommate at first and tried to get him out of here, and he was going to try everything to get him out of the house because he looks like that he would absolutely wreck everything. However, they ultimately he regretted this is because eventually when they went for a walk through the park, this ultimately led to this movie getting created. All of this is actually really good. This movie is honestly, I know it's just a funny pet movie. It's not anything significant, but it works. Now, I understand, and, Illumination, they had to make a funny pet film because, they're one of the safest companies known to man. Of course, they had to create something with pets. But I do got to admit, this movie was definitely very fresh. And overall, I would consider it one of Illumination's better films. A lot of people consider Sing 2 one of Illumination's best films. I don't think it's among the top two, obviously. It's not even in the top two in this list. However, I do understand the point that they're coming from. A lot of Illumination's films can feel like a funny film just to sell more merchandise garbage. But this film is actually one of their more deeper films and actually had logic behind it. I personally like Illumination as a company. I do got to admit they do play it very safe with movies like The Secret Life of Pets and Hop. But I also think that they can take some big swings, like with Migration and, of course, Sing 2. And this movie just felt like such a breath of fresh air for Sing. Also, fun fact, the gap between Sing 1 and Sing 2 is now shorter than the gap between Sing 2 and now. Sing 3 is announced, so I guess it's not that important. I just thought it was interesting. Anyway, Sing 2 is basically about this koala guy again, and who's trying to build his show out into being on the big stage, because apparently owning a theatre wasn't enough. Anyway, so he tries to perform, but then Mr. Crystal, who's the guy who owns the theatre, basically he was like, I'm afraid your story's already been told. But then Gunther from the first movie came up with a show idea which impressed Mr. Crystal, and you could write the whole script on your own now. It was honestly just it honestly might be aside from one other movie which we'll get to not long after this, this movie might be Illumination's best sequel. Yeah, aside from one movie that we'll get to after this. Wait, did I accidentally skip one number? Oh, jeez. I am bad at counting. Yeah, it turns out I'm bad at counting, so, there's actually 14 Illumination films. I thought that there was 13. I guess I'm just bad at counting. Anyway, number 3 for real this time is Migration. This is one of Illumination's only 2 real big swings. All of the other films try to really play it safe. This film and Hop are their only 2 real big swings. And while Hop does get a lot of hate online, Migration is usually seen as one of the Illumination's better films. And I honestly agree. This film, honestly, in my opinion, just felt so unique in the Illumination landscape. While I was watching all of these movies, some of them just faded into mush. But this movie, no, this was one of the few that I actually sat through and enjoyed. It was just such a big swing, and it was so unusual to see Illumination taking a swing like this. But it paid off so well, and overall turned into one of their better films. Also, Illumination, please make a sequel. This is one of your only films so far that does not have a sequel. If you're wondering, by the way, the other ones are the Dr. Seuss films and Hop. Everybody betrayed me. I'm fed up with this world. Okay, this film is literally my definition of nostalgia. Despicable Me 3 is not only my favourite movie in the Despicable Me franchise, but one of my favourite Illumination movies of all time. It's just so good. The villain is awesome. All of the characters are awesome. The plot is awesome. A lot of people say that there's too much filler in this movie, but honestly, I disagree. They're subplots, not filler. A lot of people say that they don't contribute to the plot, so they're just filler. I say they do, honestly. The minions in jail, that's the reason that Hollywood didn't get rang up into space. Oh yeah, I should probably address the plot. So the plot is there's this guy named Balbazar Bratt, and he is trying to destroy Hollywood because he once was a TV star, and basically what happened is he went through a growth spurt, so Hollywood decided to never give him a chance again. So he wants to get revenge on Hollywood by making them get sended up into space. Gru's job is to stop him. It's pretty much that simple. He also gets to meet his brother called Drew, who he also uses to steal back the diamond to make sure that Balbazar Bratt cannot send Hollywood up into space. But then Balbazar Bratt gets the diamond back, and he almost actually sends Hollywood up into space. But then they save Hollywood because of course they do. Honestly, this movie was just something else. Call it nostalgia and biased all you want, and before you say I'm biased, every YouTube video is biased. They're opinion-based. That actually means nothing. Anyway, so, like, this movie is just overall really good in my eyes. And it's overall my favourite Despicable Me film, and it's not really that close. Like my least favourite Despicable Me film is actually the Despicable Me film after this one, not including you. Anyway, yeah, you know what number one is. I'm just gonna cut to the chase. Hey guys, editing Drippy Mari bro here. So it turns out that I actually forgot Despicable Me 2. Now here's the thing. I definitely planned this out, and I'm not just 100% stupid. Yeah, if I included Despicable Me 2, it would probably be in between, Migration and Secret Life of Pets. It's pretty good. I wouldn't say it's anything spectacular, but yeah, it's pretty good. Anyway, you already know what number one is. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of inevitable. This one is actually an all-timer for me. The Super Mario movie is just something else. I am so excited for the sequel as well. Like, this movie, I see very few ways they could have made Mario into a better movie. Basically, the story is that Mario and Luigi start a plumbing company, and basically it all goes wrong, and they want to try and prove New York that they're not just jokes. So they try to go fix a leakage in the sewer, but then he ends up going through a pipe, which leads us to the Mushroom Kingdom, and the Mushroom Kingdom needs to try and get together with the Kong army, but they are able to stop Bowser from using the superstar in order to take everything for himself. It was just, well, I know I might be biased. I mean, Cool Bowser is literally my mascot, and, well, I am. I definitely am. But that doesn't take away from anything that this movie does. Like, it's just, I see very few ways that they could make a Mario movie that's better. I am so excited to see the Super Mario Galaxy movie, now that Yoshi and Bowser Jr. are two completely new characters. I'm also quite excited to see how they use Rosalina. Maybe I'll update this ranking when the movie comes out, and I'll also do so for Minions and Monsters. We're done. We're finally done. This was such an ambitious project. I did not know how long this was going to take. This video unfortunately had to get delayed a bunch of times. Because of a certain other thing. However, it still came out in the end, and I'm still very happy with how it came out. I will be updating this list when the Super Mario Galaxy movie comes out, and when Minions and Monsters comes out. Oh my god, the Amazing Digital Circus episode 8 is coming out soon. Alright, bye guys, I gotta go. But before I go, as always, those are just my thoughts. As always, everyone's have their own opinion. I know we still have the Pixar movies to do, and I know we also have the Sony's movie to do, and I know we also have the DreamWorks movies to do, and I know I also have the Ghibli movies to do, and I know I also have, yeah, you get it. But I think out of all of these, I think I'm actually going to do the Ghibli movies next. I'm trying to go with the companies that don't have too many films, so that way I'm able to make them. So that way I'm able to make these videos faster. I don't want to go with a company that has tons of films like Pixar. Maybe when I graduate or something. But right now, those are just my thoughts. As always, you can have our own opinion. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow.